Hey Pat, how's it going?
Hey Steve, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Right on.
Looks like you got a new toy here. What do we got?
This is a new 140S. It's our new smaller machine, real compact. I like this machine because it fits on the quad. It's got a new Dolmar 4-stroke motor. It's a West German motor that's actually made here in the US. And you know, we try to build most of our products here, but hey, this is a great new thing.
Well, 4-stroke's the way to go, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sick and tired of having the carburetors gum up with the residual oil. The straight gas is just so much simpler. And I think we should go try it out over here. And I'll show you about the Drywasher, show you all the improvements we've done to it.
Okay.
And it's really a great machine. I think you'll be impressed.
All right. I see.
And I also got my new Mine Lab GPZ 7000. So I'm anxious to go over our tailing piles and maybe wander around here and try out the new metal detector as well.
All right. I see some new features already.
Absolutely. It's got a blast gate. It's got a new adjustable frame with the bumper stops on it that transmit the vibration from the concentrator box up to the hoppers. You don't have to shake the hoppers much. But
Great.
you know, rather than just talk to you and tell you about it, let's set it up. I'll show you as we're doing it, and you guys can see it run.
All right. Let's do it.
Okay. Good chance to try out a brand new machine. Nice thing about it, it's completely portable. It's not like you have to drive to the spot. You can actually hike over a hill or two if you have to. Hey Steve, one of the reasons I chose this spot, you can see where the guys were digging down the hillside, and I see a lot of impacted riverbed gravel, and it looks like they even tried to fill part of it in, or maybe knock it down to bury their hole. But I see a bunch of metal detecting holes down here, and it looks like someone had their Mine Lab over here, looking for some big pieces in this tailing pile. And you see this big huge pile over here. Looks like someone's gone through a lot of work to do all that. What do you think?
Moving a lot of material, then it must have been a good reason.
Well, hey, maybe it was the end of the weekend. They had to take off and decide to come back here. But hey, it's left abandoned. It's on an open area. Let's do it.
Sounds good. It looks like a good area.
Okay, let's put it together.
Nice to see those round rocks here.
Absolutely, and they're close to the top. But you know what round rocks mean? That means old placer material that was laid up and down on top.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to determine exactly where the gold is, but that's why you move a lot of material to find out, kind of expose the side of it. So let's get to work.
Okay, show me how this goes together now.
Figure out how the bungees come off first. Tray right there. Can't wait to try that out. Legs, just bring the legs up here. Tighten them up so they're out of the way when we go to fold it all up. I normally like to assemble the hopper upside down so I can just fold up the legs like so. Get these up out of the way. One leg's a little longer than the other.
So that one goes in first, right?
Purposely, yep. This one's shorter. And I normally like to put it in the tallest position possible. Okay. And then these bumpers are going to sit up on each side of the box, pushing into it. And what that does is it just helps keep it real stable, and it tries to hold the box because it's got a big vibrator in there, and that transmits energy to the top of the hopper, so the hopper moves. So we'll move these into position once we get the box in.
So the hopper's vibrating now.
Yeah,
And before it did.
exactly.
I know that.
Well, since we've done all the new technology on the box that I'll go through in a second, the hopper shaking, having to not go and rake all the rocks up and down and try to shake the hopper and disturb everything, it kind of does most of it on its own. I think we're going to set up right where these guys are and get to work. This with some extra stickers in here. Drop those in the bucket. Now on the box here, make sure my clamp is down. I've got a hanger assembly. We're going to put it at the right hole right off, which is the last hole. Slide the box underneath here. Here we go. Now that we got the frame all stood up and we got it, the adjustment in the highest hole to keep the hopper as steep as possible. Certain areas you don't need to run the hopper that steep, but when you're running into a lot of broken sharp rock, you need to keep the angle real steep so it can work that material off. With the new concentrator box we have, it's got a vibrator which used to turn like 750 RPMs. Now it turns around 1,000 RPMs, 1,100 RPMs. And by having that extra vibration, we basically use some bumpers on the side of the frame to harness that energy, and so it can actually transmit vibration up to the top hopper. You're going to see the top hopper shaking around, and that basically helps a lot from spending a lot of time of raking the rocks back and forth. The vibration helps add a lot of help by not having to come up here every couple shovel loads and work the material back and forth.
So you can just keep shoveling and move more material.
Exactly. Now the hopper, we're going to hook up that now. There's a couple of hooks here. And unlike other metal dry washers, you'll notice that the hopper and the concentrator box are plastic. By them being plastic and not grounded to the ground, because it's not attached from metal from here to the rod, to the frame, to the ground, we can actually create a static electrical charge. And the static electrical charge on this machine and these designs of machines have really revolutionized dry washing. The benefit of it is when the box creates a static electrical charge, it actually charges the top of the cloth, and when you get fine particles that settle down, the static electrical charge helps hold it to the carpet, helps hold those values. It's kind of like if you took a balloon, you rubbed it and you poured fine gold along the side of it, you'll see a lot of the gold will stick. That's a static electrical charge, and as we know, gold's not really magnetic, but it does with static electrical charge, and we've been learning a lot about that. One of the things that we have on the board, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes, is we have some material that helps create the static electrical charge. We have a polycarbonate plate which helps store the electricity, and then we have the foam rubber underneath and the silk screen material that's a different mesh than what the standard stuff is, and we've had to play with it for a while, but it creates like 0.7 milliamps, and that's unbelievable. It's probably one of the biggest attributes of some of the dry washers we have today. Let's put the rest of it together and I'll show you how some of the other stuff works. The clip here. Gotta have things in the right position. position for everything to go together, you see? Okay. I'm just going to hang it up here for now until we get the machine in the right position. But also on the back of the concentrator box, it has a blast gate. And by loosening the wing bolt, you can open this or close it, and what that does, it allows some air to bypass, but since it's not compressing it through the cartridge, it actually changes the RPM of the fan blade. It can go a lot faster or a little bit slower by opening and closing this and changing the airflow inside the box, so it's not creating so much back pressure. It relieves the back pressure, and you'll notice the RPM of the fan pick up. And also when you're in real fine material sometimes and you're running your blower at an optimal speed, you can actually change it and open it or close it. But you'll see when we get running, you'll see how that really helps. Now, the bumpers on the side of this thing, which are the key to vibrating the hopper, we'll loosen these up. Bring this up to position right about the center point of the box. You tighten it up, not too much, because you don't want to put so much force that you dent the tubing. So just make sure it's firm and it's not going to move around on you. And like I said, you don't have to get the wing bolts too tight. The quick release frame pins and stuff like that make it easier if you want to break it down even more. But the design of how the frame breaks apart and the frame folds up into the hopper is a great thing for portability and for packing into a small area, whether it's a trunk or the back seat of a car or a basket in the back of the quad.
What about a backpack?
Yeah, you can easily backpack it also. I think the whole unit probably only weighs around 22 pounds. And that makes for a pretty light pack. But you know what? You always have tools with you. You always need to bring a little bit of fuel with you. You do need to come prepared anytime you go out there. And also, like if you're out in the desert, make sure you have enough water with you and enough food and everything else. Some of us end up bringing the kitchen sink, as we say. But this machine, there's nothing to it, and it's not a lot of work. But to find the gold, it's really about the work that you put into it. I'm going to adjust the other bumper on this side. Okay. Get that right about the center of the box. Okay. Now I'll adjust the bumper out. And when you adjust it, you want to make sure that you stay within the frame rails about equal on both sides. I think we got it pretty close here. Make sure that it's snug in the box. And there's also a little lock nut here, so you can tighten that up. I should have a wrench with me to do it, but I think it's going to be fine. But wait till we hook up the hose onto it and see what we do. So I'm going to set the machine on the side. I just think it's going to make it a little easier to put the hose on. Okay. By the way, a 5/16 nut driver is a great tool to have because it fits your clamps. You know, anytime you use a screwdriver and it slides off of it, sometimes you can cut yourself, but this is really the best way to go.
That's experience talk.
You got to make sure you get this on real good. got to be tight. There's nothing worse than having your clamp or the hose come loose when you're getting ready to get to work, and then you have to shut everything down and do it twice. So try to do it properly the first time. And that driver's great because you can really torque down on it. And you want to be careful where you also set your blower too. You don't want to have all your dust from the box either blowing in your face or right in the intake of the motor, because you can clog up the air filter real fast and easy. Once you get your hose down, you notice the hose is real stiff. So what I try to do, go ahead and make sure you got a good bend in it. Get it to the right direction so it doesn't hit the ground right here. It will after a while, but once you get everything all set up and you start running some material, it kind of gives you a little bit better of a base, so you can kind of level out the Drywasher, adjust the height of the hopper, not by just the adjustments on the slide on the frame, but also actually working it in and out of the material. And as you start developing a pile of rock in the back and the sand in the front, you quickly make a base and it kind of starts burying your machine. And you have to shovel away your tailings so you don't completely bury the box and create a pile that goes up to the box completely. That might stop your vibration. So we'll get this thing hooked up in another minute, and the next thing you'll see is a shot of this running. Okay, now that we got the Drywasher pretty much set up and we got the hose connected to the bottom of the box, we're going to hook up the hose to this unit. Let me talk about the Dolmar for a moment. You want to make sure that you always carry a couple, at least a 1 gallon fuel with you a day. This has a pretty small gas tank on here that will probably last, I don't know exactly, probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It depends also on the throttle. It's got a little squeeze bulb down here, so once you fuel it up for the first time, you have to put oil in this machine before you take it out and use it. It's a little tricky, but it takes exactly 2.7 ounces of oil. One of my friends who I sold one of these units to basically showed me a trick by opening the oil port, and when you look straight down when it's somewhat level, you won't see any oil in the reservoir, and you tilt it just a little bit, and when oil starts to flow into that little cap that has a hole going off to the side, when the oil flows into that, you know that you have enough oil in it. You don't want to put too much oil in there, and you don't want to have enough. Also, with this type of motor, it doesn't use much oil, but it eats a little bit of oil, and we suggest that you drain the oil every 10 hours. It's only 2.7 ounces, but you want to keep the oil clean if you want your machine to run for a long time. Also, a lot of the new gasolines, they got a lot of additives in it. You don't want to leave gasoline in the tank if you're going to be storing it. Gas in the fuel lines for too long starts to rot them a little prematurely. And you want to make sure that you keep your air filter clean. I would contact the manufacturer or your dealer and order extra filters also for these motors. You want to keep the air clean that's going into it. Otherwise, it will basically wear out the engine pretty fast. Now that we've gone over a little bit about it, oh, by the way, once you get fuel into the carburetor the first time, this thing pulls and starts on the first time. It's a pretty amazing motor. I've been using mine for about 2.5 years at the outings, and I've had real good luck with it. And since I switched from the Echo to the Dolmar, and the Dolmar's made in the USA by a German company, and it uses a couple of Japanese parts in it, but assembled here in the US. It really is a good quality motor, and I've had real good luck. This motor is really designed to be sitting on its side, so you got to make sure that your port is open on both sides and off to the side. And it's also better to lay this thing on the side when you're operating it as a dry washer. When you're operating it as a vacuum, only suck material up about halfway. People have filled their buckets up and actually had rocks shoot through the fan blade and actually crack the blade and housing. So I tell people when you use it as a vac system, you only want to do it halfway. This is a great tool. Not going to just use it for a blower, but you also use it as a vacuum. And by putting in one of the other plugs that it comes with, right here, when you're using it as a blower, you leave both ports open. I think we're the only ones that do that. And it's got a leash here that you can attach to your bucket handle so you don't lose it. Well, we'll get to that stuff all soon enough. But if we're going to be using it as a blower, we leave that out. There's two ports, one on each side of the bucket. You want to make sure that you don't suck in dirt or dust when you're using it as a dry washer, or it can clog up the bottom pad. So we're going to unscrew this off, which is another great thing to have. With the screw lid with the seal, it gives you a good positive seal, and the old style, you used to have to pry up the lid, and it was pretty hard on your fingers, as it's pinching your fingertips. This screws on the other half of the lid with a rubber O-ring, and it gives you a super tight fit. That way no air bypasses around it and you don't lose vacuum in a hurry. The machine also comes with a hose, about a 6 foot, 2 1/4 vacuum hose, and it also comes with a nozzle. I'm going to set that off to the side for right now. Make sure your bucket's good and clean. Make sure that your extra port is out. We're going to keep it right here for safekeeping. And just let it hang off to the side. Once we take our motor, we're already fueled up and oiled up. They do not come with oil, so make sure that you put oil in it. Now I'm going to screw the lid down and make sure it's tight. And the nut driver, better than a screwdriver. And now we're going to insert our hose onto here. Just like so. Twist it on a bit.
Now what's the part number on this, Pat?
This is actually called a HVS, and when you buy it, it just comes with the unit. Now if you buy the 140 HVS, it comes with the dry washer, it comes with the blower, and it comes with the hose. But if you buy either one of them separate, they don't come with the hose, and the hoses aren't cheap because they're a real good quality rubber, almost like a vulcanized hose around a wire band. They're super strong, they can vibrate in the material and not wear through them. It's not like the cheap plastic PVC hose. The stuff works really good. Okay, then we'll tighten this up and we'll be ready to go. Or I said a nut driver, so much easier to use. It's kind of the must-have item. Let's get it tight, check it. It's not going to come off. Then we're going to have to find a nice level spot as far away the dry washer as possible. And next thing you know, we'll be going over the tray real quick And then after that, we'll get to work and start shoveling where you can see the machine operate. Okay, now that we got everything set up, you can actually see the box a little bit better. You've got an adjustable gate right here, which allows your material to drop down. This first little plate here that you see is covered with pins, and what these pins do is they help break up and agitate and also spread out the material to full width of the board. Before, the material used to just drop right onto the cloth, and if you have real heavy or sharp rocks, sometimes they can pierce the cloth on the older dry washers. This is a real good improvement because these pins right here actually help stratify the material, actually help mix up the material, and also help that material fan out a little bit so it runs into the board evenly so you don't have any loss of area where you don't have material. That pin thing stays in the machine. It's part of the back portion. You got an extra heavy duty clip on here. You also have a little tiny port, about 3/4 inch, that you can pull this plug out, and if you get any dust or material that actually settles into the box, you can actually tilt the box and you can just tap that into a pan. And believe me, you do find gold in that sometimes. So this is a new board that we're going to pull out. You'll notice here that there's a base to it, and it's all precisely cut out on a water jet. And what that does, it allows the air to come up only in the areas that are necessary. And it's also matched to the polycarbonate board right here. And if you hold it up in the light and look, you'll notice at the back side of each riffle, you have a little dead air space. We used to do that with tape, but you know what? We're too far in technology to let people do it on their own, so everything's already pre-figured out on this. By the way, this polycarbonate board, for things that hold static electrical charge on the 1 to 10 scale, it's like an 8. And does a great job of holding and storing that static electrical charge. Plus, you see this foam pad here? Underneath this material here, which is a polyester material, it actually helps allow an even flow coming out through the box. It doesn't allow blow-by areas. And also, it's got this piece of polyester fabric on the back of it that's very porous. Air passes through it very easily, no resistance, and what this does is it helps get an even flow of air throughout the entire board. I'm going to go over the riffle a little bit more in a minute, but I want you to see this. It's got a new type of vibrator mechanism. The vibrator mechanism is about twice the size that it was. It also has the fan encompassed inside of a little collar, so the air comes straight up, but we're able to target that air and create a lot of vibration by sending it directly up to the fan without having the fan spin the air off. Centrifugal force spinning the air off the tips of the blade out through the box. It utilizes every bit of energy from the air to push it through that collar to allow that vibrator to get its maximum vibration. And you'll see when we start using it, because that vibrator is adequate enough not just to shake the board, but also to shake the entire hopper. And that's one of the points of having the bumpers and the heavier mechanism, and also the new improved tray and the plate with the pins in it. We've made a lot of huge changes. It's a little bit more expensive than the 140, but there's a lot more that goes into this box and the amount of technology. See, what happens is when the vibrator comes and it's winging around at a super high frequency, it's shaking this box and allowing the air to come up to create a suspension of your material. I'm going to put this in right now. Okay, I'm going to slide the tray in, but explaining how when the air passes through this, it helps create a static electrical charge to this type of material. Then the electrostatic charge gets stored in this polycarbonate plate, and then it gets transmitted through this rubber pad and then through the screen, where, like I said, we were able to almost get 0.7 milliamps. And you see we've done a couple other little
rumors spreading round in that Texas town about the shack outside the game. And you know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you wanna go to that home out on the range. They got a lot of nice girls.